Live stream is starting soon. Okay, it's working. Excellent. I've gotten better at this. That's good. Okay. Let me open up my chat in a new window so I don't have to listen to my voice again when I'm talking. Okay. And that. Let's see if we have any suggestions for topics. I've got some ideas, but I was kind of hoping to see if y'all have any ideas out there as well. Okay, so I'm gonna talk real quick about some things that WebdriverCSS does because I've been checking the chat channel and the WebdriverCSS. And hi y'all too. And I want to, in the WebdriverCSS Getter chat, I'm gonna pull this over real quick because it's a cool little thing. If you want help with WebdriverIO or WebdriverCSS, you can jump into this chat and ask questions and stuff. So there's a question about the problem. Basically, someone's trying out WebdriverCSS, which is awesome. And they're seeing two things. One is that with the screenshots, it captures just a regular screenshot, and then the a second one. So they have something as simple as I'm going to capture the Google website and the search box on the Google website. And so what it does is WebdriverCSS actually captures the full page, and then from there it finds the size of the element and the position on the page and everything, and it will create a screenshot based on that. So yeah, you'll see two screenshots. If you have like 3 different elements in here, you'll see this screenshot and then 3 other ones. And then if you have a regression or something, there are it will say .regression or .diff if you have all that stuff. Anyway, I'm gonna hide that so that I don't know. So there's a question about it keeps changing the browser window size, and let's actually jump into WebdriverCSS and see if I can show you the code that does that. And so what it's doing is when you set the resolution, WebdriverCSS is trying to get to the right resolution. And actually, yeah, I'm gonna bring that back up. Let's see, can I hide this at all? No. Maybe I can hide this. I want to be able to. Here, this is what I'll do. I'll just copy all this out because I want to be able to see all of this content. Paste it in here. Make that a little bit smaller. Okay, so what's going on is WebdriverIO is sending commands to the Selenium session. The first thing you see is it sends a URL, so it's posting data to the Selenium session with the URL that we want to go to. And then it gets that and it's good. And then WebdriverCSS tells WebdriverIO to get the current size of the window. And and then from there, it will try and resize the window by running this execute. Execute will do a bit of JavaScript. It basically lets you run any JavaScript that you want on your page. So inside the page itself, you're running this JavaScript. So if we go into the WebdriverCSS code base, show you what's going on. And what I think, just to guess at the answer, is that it's trying to size it larger than the window resolution you currently have. So in WebdriverCSS, you can set the resolution to be a specific size down when you initialize it. Let's see, it's got a default, I think. Screen width, I don't know what the default is. But yeah, you can set your screen widths here when you initialize. And I think what's happening is you've got a screen width that's a little bit too large for the resolution of the screen that you're on. So it tries to set the screen size, and then it's going to tell the window to set that screen size. And it kind of does this a few times. And then it gets that screen size and it says, okay, is the screen size correct or not? Okay, it's not correct. Let's try it again. And let's try it again. So it keeps on trying to get it to the right size. And then after a certain amount of time, it's just going to quit trying and just take the screenshots itself. to jump into the library where that is. Okay, so in chat, they're posting the screen width. Yeah, it is in the config file, and I don't know, you might, if you're running it locally, you might have issues with that, but let me real quick see if I can get set screen width. There, nicely named files, wonderful. So what are we doing? It's going to get the new screen size, it's going to parse through the screen widths, and then what it's looking for is set viewport size. So this is what is telling the Selenium box to set the viewport size to a specific width and height. And then in the callback, it will actually check that viewport size. So here it's asking for the new viewport size and then setting it and then running another callback. Trying to see where specifically. So it's, I think here it's checking that. No, somewhere in here it's checking the size of the screenshot to check to make sure that it's got the right size. So what you might try doing is setting 1024. It's in the set viewport size command. Okay, so in here is doing that logic. So yeah, that's outside. I think it's outside of WebdriverCSS. I think that's in set viewport size. Set screenshot. Maybe it's in helpers. Nope. Scripts. Let's see if it's in here. Not within viewport. No. I think that's in WebdriverIO. Whoa. Jump it off. Okay, let's try this. The fun of live chat with a delay as well. Okay, viewport screenshot. Let's see. So this is where it's taking the screenshot itself. I don't see anything in here about, there's a get screen dimension. Let's not execute. Get screen dimension. That's just getting the size of the screen. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of what it's doing. And the way to get around that is there's in one of these files, when it's taking the screenshot, it's checking the size of the image or size of the website, and it's trying to adjust it. So yeah, if it can't expand the window large enough, then it's going to try, and then finally it's just going to fall back and say, I couldn't set the right size. I'm still going to take the screenshot. It's just not going to be, might not be what you're expecting as far as the size goes. So yeah, to get around that, you can set it to something maybe a little bit smaller, try 1,000. Your responsive style should be about the same in that instance. I mean, you're probably not going to have a breakpoint at that instance. Another option is to test it on something with a larger resolution. If you use a cloud Selenium service like Sauce Labs or Browser Stack, they've got a ton of different resolutions you can set. And so you can use something like that to get a larger resolution in case you need to test larger resolutions. So yeah, because this is all limited by physical hardware, you've got to worry about that. Unlike something like Phantom.js, which I think with that you can size it to anything. I'm not actually sure. Okay, so that's, I just want to answer that real quick in the chat and go from there. Let me see if there's anything else. Okay, that's good. And that's a little bit on WebDriver CSS, just for fun. And let's see. I was thinking about jumping into getting set up with some Cloud Selenium services. So that might be a good segue for this. So I think I'll do that. And let's see. I will start off by taking a look at Sauce Labs, who pretty cool folks there. They offer a Selenium, I call them Selenium Cloud Service. I don't know if that's the official term that they use, but I like it because it explains it pretty well, especially in the WebdriverIO sense that you need a Selenium grid, a set of Selenium machines to test on. And this is a cloud service. It's not something that you run locally on site. It's something that you use their hardware for. So pretty cool stuff. And what's really great is they have a free trial that you can try out. Yeah, completely free. 90 hours of automated testing. So that's plenty. You probably won't be using 90 hours anytime soon when you're just trying stuff out. So let's fill this out. And yeah, my company size is just me. And then I need a username. Just do that. And a password. Try that. And no, I don't think I'm a robot. Oh boy, this is fun. Trees. I mean, veggies are trees, right? I don't think that has trees. I mean, that's dead trees. Okay, I think I got it right. Oh, I need a company. WebdriverIO Wednesdays. Let's save it. There we go. Not a robot again. Don't make me a... Oh, I've got to do this again. Is that a cake? Oh, jeez. That's food. I mean, that's for grilling food. That's food, yeah. Oh my gosh. Select all the squares with street signs. There are no squares. There. That one too. What is this? Since I don't want y'all to see my on my email, I'm gonna do this on another screen. So I'm gonna wait for this to come through. Hopefully I have my email address set up. There we go. Okay. So this is a setup process for Sauce Labs. Just a bunch of admin stuff while we wait for everything. While I'm doing that, let's waiting for that to load. Let's jump into some of the services. Now, WebdriverIO comes with a Sauce service that's kind of an extension for WebdriverIO. It's got some really cool stuff that adds information to your test, and we'll jump into that. And let's go ahead and install that while we're waiting for everything else to go through. So that's not the tab I want. You can hear my laptop fan taking off. I don't know what's going on. It's too many videos. Maybe it's just the streaming. I got my microphone working, I think. I think I'm using the right one. Okay, I need to get to WebdriverIO Wednesdays. WebdriverIO, no, not that. I think it's under www. WebdriverIO. No, where is it? Don't save it. Okay. WDIO Wednesday sample. Wednesday. So we did WCSS. Let's just do the sample just to keep it. Well, yeah. Okay. Now I will install the Sauce service. And then actually when you're running the configuration, you can have this do all this for you. So I changed my mind. I'm going to make a new directory. Wednesday sauce. And then I'm going to do my npm init with all my defaults. Install WebdriverIO. And then, yeah, that's all I want. Okay, that's gone. Sweet. I've got, this is the interface for Sauce Labs, which I haven't taken a look at in a while. It looks pretty snazzy. So they've got automated builds. I haven't checked on that at all. Pretty neat. They've got your automated tests that you can check, that you can try. If you need to test local stuff, you can point to sauces. You can point to like a kind of a tunnel kind of thing. And then here we can start a manual session. So I'll just show off what this kind of does real quick. So I'd pass in the URL that I want to test. So we were testing the WebdriverIO homepage. And then if I want a specific browser, so I haven't checked out Edge. So let's check out Edge. And then here are all these resolutions we got. So 1280 by 800 is pretty good size. And let's try this out. Okay, that's booting up. They're rickrolling me, so that's great. And while I'm here, I'm going to initialize our WebdriverIO configuration. So I'm going to go into the node modules directory, into the bin where our WebdriverIO instance was installed, and run it. Okay, so where do I want to test? I want to test in the cloud. This is different from what we've done before. It's going to ask me my username. So this is specifically asking me the variable, environmental variable that I want to use for my username. So it's not my sauce username specifically. It's going to be how WebdriverIO is going to get that information. And the reason that they do this is for security reasons. You don't want to store your username and key directly into into your WebdriverIO script, like in your configuration file. You want to store it in some sort of secret repo or secret area that isn't public in case that configuration file gets out there. So I'm going to go with the defaults for this, and we'll jump through that in a minute. Okay, Mocha, yes, I want to install it. I'll just do test star.js, and then let's just do dot, and I'll just do spec. I like the spec reporter. Maybe sometime I'll jump into Allure or Team City. Pretty cool stuff. Yeah. Yes, I do want the Sauce Lab service. So pretty cool service that helps add information. I don't think it's necessary in order to run Sauce Labs. In order to use it, I think it just adds some really nice features to your information that you get from the Sauce Labs interface. And we'll take a look at that in a minute. If you want to use Phantom.js, you can install it through here too. But these are the two things. I'm going to try the Selenium standalone service again. I don't know if it's going to work or not. We'll see. And yep. Here's the logging verbosity output. So silent, just doesn't do anything. And then, yeah, things like that. I'll just leave it there. Base URL is WebdriverIO. Okay, now it's installing. Now back to Sauce Labs. Because this is a trial, I've got a 10-minute limit on this, but pretty cool stuff. And get rid of that so we can see a little bit better. Here I have full access to this machine, and I'm sure the rendering is fun because we're like going on a VM and streaming through a VM and everything. But yeah, you can test your website any way you want, just manually typing in whatever you want in here. So pretty cool stuff, and you can find if there's any bugs or anything. So that is the Sauce Labs manual test, and I'm going to see, closing out of this, I just hit stop. Yeah, we're done with that. Okay, now that we've finished that, There's some information we need. So this has got to be stopping soon. In our manual test, we need the username and the key in there. So what I can do is add an environmental variable to my terminal, my command line. Sorry, and sometimes you can do that by doing export. I think export and then things like that. You could also just pass it in when you run your WebdriverIO command. You could say sauce username equals 1, and then sauce. Wow, I like typing suave. Sauce access key is equal to, and then this is the access key that you'll get. Let me in here, because I'm not really keen on showing you my access key. No, this is better. Use environmental variables for authentication credentials. I'll post that in chat in case you want to take a look at it. So yeah, well, this is what I want, setting up environmental variables. I can jump into the bash profile, and the benefit of this is it saves it even after you restart your computer or you restart your command line or things like that. If I just did it through through this way, it doesn't actually save it. Oh. Huh. Okay. Sorry. Something else popped up on my screen with a website that was taking too much of my memory. So, okay. So this way, there's some issues with it. The first is it's not saved, so you have to type this in every single time. The second one is this shows your key way out in the wide open, so anybody who can access your command line history can see the key that you have for Sauce Labs, and then that can, you don't really want to share that around too much, or really at all. You want kind of separate keys for everybody. So you can do it this way, but it's not preferred. The other thing you can do is each time you start up a command line, you can do export sauce user key, sauce username, and then access key. But this kind of has the same issue. You don't have to write it every single time that you run your WebdriverIO command, but you will have to run this every time you pop open a new terminal window, things like that, a new command line prompt. So, and then anybody who can access your command line history can see that again. So that's why in here they have you jump into your bash profile and add these lines, the username and the access key, into your bash profile. Bash profile gets run every single time that your a command line gets started up. So let me see. Before I show everyone my bash profile, I want to make sure that there's no like other keys in there for people to steal. That wouldn't be too great. So I'm going to open this up in a different window that hopefully isn't streaming. Okay, there, .files, init. Oh, man. Maybe I won't do this. Okay. I know what I can do. Okay, I've got an idea. Okay, I think that's fine. So I'm going to go to my root directory and then hit .bash profile. So you see I've got a couple of bash things. Bash profile, and pull this over. So this is my custom bash profile. It's got a lot of complicated things in it, and a lot of things that I've done so far, but I don't think there's anything too important in it. But I do have a secrets file that I can add secrets like this to, and you see it uses that export functionality. So I'm just gonna, for the sake of ease and not showing off my secrets file, which has lots of secrets in it, I'm going to jump into here, and this is where I'll put my sauce username 1, and then my sauce access key, which I'm not going to show you. But once I'm done with that, I'm going to insert that, save it, and then the next time I either boot up a new terminal window, so I can do this, and I think this will work. Sauce username, no $sign. I'm not too good on my bash. Maybe I need to source it. .bash. Oh, geez. What did I do? See, I've got this CSH shell thing set up, so that could be causing some issues with it. And I think that is. All this. So I think what's happening is, since I'm using this custom ZHS or CSH terminal, it's using a different file than bash profile. I know just enough about all this stuff to get myself in trouble and to mess things up, and I kind of just get it working and then hope that it doesn't change on me. So I've got this other file that I need to edit, and I'm going to edit that file real quick here. I'll just throw those in there. Okay, now I'll do klamping 1, and then I'll save this. I'm not going to add my access key yet. Yeah, so Aaron just mentioned that, and in the chat, that I need to source ZSHRC, which is the file that I'm editing. Okay, so back to the terminal, and if I do echo, if I try this right now, it's not going to work because it hasn't been updated. This file gets run once when you start the terminal window or the command line window, so it's not going to work here. But if I source it, and hopefully my source works. Whoops, wrong one. ZSHRC. Okay, now I try. Cross my fingers. Aha! Excellent. So now I sourced this file, which basically says execute this file and kind of run it, kind of like you would do in your web developer toolbar in Chrome. You would run a file, or you would run some text or some code, and then it would execute and everything. So now I have the sauce username available. And then the other thing I want to check is if it runs it right away. Okay, so now it's available on all my other stuff. So I've got that added. The next thing I'm going to do is hide this window from you and get my sauce key and hopefully not reveal it. If I reveal it, I'm not too concerned because this is just a random account, and I believe I can change that key anytime I want. So if you're using something like Jenkins, you're going to need to do some custom stuff to get this environmental variable in there. But you can do that. They're pretty good. Like Travis CI has a really good way of setting environmental variables in an authenticated way, or not in an encrypted way, things like that. So next up is showing you where to get your sauce key. Okay, that's Sauce Connect. I don't need Sauce Connect. Sauce Connect is if you want to test something behind a firewall or on your local environment. Connect will kind of create this proxy to your get access key. That's protecting. Setting up sauce cookbook. I think that's what I want. No, I keep saying Sauce Connect. Golly. Managing. Maybe it's in the REST API. Maybe that'll be in there. Sorry, I haven't used Sauce Labs in a while. The other issue is if I'm searching through this and it is kind to me and gives me my key because I'm logged in, that wouldn't be great. Getting started. Sorry, I'm looking on my user page. Yeah, here it is. So if you go, and thankfully they hide it. So if you go to your, down here, my account, it'll take you to this page, and then you can scroll down, get your access key, just hit show, that'll show it. And so I'm going to do that on another screen. Yeah, show. Oh, and I need my password. Okay, now I've got my key. I'm typing it in over here. I'm going to source my file again. And I'll probably do that over here too. Well, no, sorry. I get confused, too many terminal windows open. Okay, so I sourced my file and I have my key available now. I'm not going to show you because that would ruin all of the suspense of hiding this behind it. So I've got all that set up. Let's try this out. So if I can close that, I can come back to my dashboard and bring that over here and under automated test. Let's see if I can get this to work. So I will show you my configuration file. Here. So here it's referencing these environmental variables for my username and key. Pretty cool. And then if I go to my services, somewhere down here, you see it's got the sauce service built in, and then the Selenium standalone. So let's write a quick test. So I'm going to make a test directory. And then I'll do basic.javascript and write a test. And I'll pause a second, and then I'll click the API text. Okay, that'll be my test. Hopefully I did that right. Nothing crazy. And then I'm going to run this test. So I'll go back to this command to run my test. And what's going to be different is that it's not actually going to show locally. It's not going to show a new browser window or anything. It's going to run all this through Sauce Labs. So if I go back to Sauce Labs, let's see if I can make this happen. Bam! There is my test running. So it's connected and everything. I can actually watch it happen real time. I think, okay, so yeah, it's popping up Firefox. Loading the page, waiting a second, and then it clicked the API, and now my test is done. And so yeah, that's running in Sauce Labs on their machine. You saw it was a custom version of Firefox. And then I can play it again if I want to play it again, which is really helpful if you have a test that's not working. You can debug it and everything. Really cool there. I can see all the commands that were run. So this will reflect the same output that you'll get in your command line. And then you can also, I guess, see the screenshot when that command was taken. So here, this is when the command was run, and this is what the website looked like when it happened. I also have, let's see, some logs. I've never checked that out, and things like that. Cool things that the Sauce service provides is this my test. You see, that's the name of my test right here. And then, let's see, that's the watch more, learn about, annotating test. I was wondering if somewhere in here, it would have should load the home page. It may or may not. No, it has kind of a log right here. So yeah, that's all part of the sauce service. So pretty cool. Okay, there's a question about how does it pick Sauce Labs if you have in services if you have Sauce Selenium defined as well. And the way that it does that is because you have a user and key defined, it will use that value. This will kind of override. That's what I think. So if I hide that, if I delete that, or actually I'll just comment it out and then try running again, I think it's going to try doing the local Selenium server, which it might actually have to install and everything. So this may take a second. No, so yeah, it's running locally now, so it doesn't need to install anything. Looks like it's actually kind of worked. Well, yeah, it just didn't close it, and that might be my fault. But basically, if you have your user and key defined, it will use that value even if you have the Selenium standalone defined. So what's cool is that here I can say, instead of just straight outporting or exporting this configuration, I'm going to say I'm going to change that to a variable. And then I'm going to export that variable at the end. And the reason for this is I want to customize this configuration based off of a conditional. So I can get the process.env.use sauce. Then I can set the username and key on my configuration. So basically I'm going to pass in a command line argument, and it's not really a command line argument, it's a environmental variable called use sauce, and maybe it needs to be uppercase to go with environmental variable kind of format. So I'll do that, use sauce. And then I'm actually going to make sure that it's set to true. God, if I could type. I don't know about JavaScript checking is really weird, so I don't know how well this is going to test for exactly true. So you might want to change that. Okay, so if this is true, then we're going to set the config user to just equal the username, and then config.key to equal the sauce key. So basically that's saying if we want to use sauce, then set those values, otherwise it'll use the Selenium service that you have locally. So to use this, I would say use sauce equals true, and then run it. And give it a second to run. And it actually takes a little bit longer just because it's got to get through the Sauce Lab stuff. So here's my test that I just started, and it's completed. Perfect. Yeah, and it gives you the job that you can test out, check out, and everything. But if I don't, let's make sure that this works. If I don't set it, this should run locally. Oh, you know what? I wonder. I said that ran locally. Maybe it didn't run locally. I could have lied. Because if it says check out the job at Sauce Labs, maybe it's just... Maybe I was hoping that it would run and kind of was just expecting it to work that way, and it didn't. Yeah, I think I was reading the previous session. Okay, so yeah, that's what's going on is there's something up with, oh, you know what it is? Here, I've got a Selenium service already running. So I'm going to stop that service. I'm going to come back here. Okay, that shut down. I'm going to try this again. So I was right and wrong at the same time. Can't connect to the service. So I think I'm running into the same issue that I had before, where it's not using Selenium standalone. But just to make sure, I'm going to take the service out and see if it'll try connecting in. Okay, same issue. So there's something up with Selenium standalone. I'm gonna take a look at that sometime and see if I can get this working. I'm pretty certain it's an issue with my computer. Okay, so I'm gonna take that service out. I'm gonna start up my own server. That's part of my WebdriverIO course. It's just already there, ready to run, so that's why I'm gonna use it. And I'm gonna try running it. And you know what, the issue, I don't wanna do that. I wanna change my browser because I have an issue with a version of Firefox where it opens up a blank page. It's dumb. So yeah, a couple issues. Here you can see Selenium's running and waiting for Chrome. There we go. Chrome's popping up. And it's running the test. Good. And I had a timeout issue. Not too surprising. So going back here, sauce is still there. I'm going to take Selenium standalone out. So yeah, if you don't define use sauce, it'll use your local. If you do define use sauce, it'll use sauce labs. So just, yeah. So that's pretty cool if you need to test something locally and you don't want to go through the sauce handshake and all that of getting that all configured and everything. You can just have it set up to where you can easily switch between local and sauce. And another nice thing is in here, you could say if the use sauce isn't true, then you can programmatically start up Selenium. If your Selenium standalone service doesn't work. But preferably if you have your Selenium standalone service working, then you don't even have to worry about that. So cool things with that. Okay, so let's see, it's 45 minutes into this. I'm trying to figure out if I want to run through browser stack or not, or jump through anything else in here. Oh, I know what to do. Let's take advantage of Sauce Labs because it's not super crazy that you're able to test on a different machine. I mean, it makes things a little bit easier in the fact that you don't have to run Selenium on your box and things like that. But the real power of it comes when you are setting up your, blanking, the browser that you want to use. So nope, that's not it. Configuration file, let's see if it's in here. Your capabilities, that's it. So I can come in here, and you saw that I tested on IE 10 or on IE Edge earlier. Let's use that instead of the default Chrome or Firefox or whatever. So I'm going to be using Selenium. Appium and Selendroid would be for mobile testing if you wanted to try that. I haven't done too much in this, but I know that WebdriverIO does support some Appium stuff. I'm going to test on a PC on Windows 10, and then I'm going to do Edge. Okay, and then I can actually set some advanced stuff, like a specific resolution. So I'll up that. Cool. And then here are my capabilities. This is for Java. I want Node. Okay, so this is not C. Kind of what I want. I'll come in here and say var caps is equal to browser name. And then it's setting some other information here. So with that, I'm going to pass in just my caps in there. And really I could not do a array here. I can just, if I remember correctly, I can do that. So I'm going to try this out. Let's see how bad I messed up. So there's a question about how we do this in Safari. I think you have to install the Safari driver. Let me see. Each browser has its own WebDriver setup. So Chrome, Internet, Firefox, Phantom. So I guess it doesn't support Safari. And you know, what I found in my testing in Safari about 6 months ago is that it doesn't support a lot of the crucial things that you need to use for testing. So at least locally, I wasn't able to get it to support. So things like, I think even clicking the page or sending some key presses and things like that, it didn't support it, just as a browser in general. So that might be why Selenium Standalone doesn't support it. But you may be able to get this running by manually installing a Safari driver yourself. So if I go to the Google code, okay, if I go to the Selenium repo, in here will be browser drivers somewhere in here. Most recent is Chrome driver. Cool. So maybe of the latest version of Safari has WebDriver built in, which is pretty nice because I think that means that you don't need to install. Okay, maybe you do need to install something, but under Chrome driver, I don't specifically want Chrome driver. What I want is Safari WebDriver. So WebDriver is different from WebdriverIO. WebDriver is kind of the generic Selenium term for interfacing with a browser itself. So there's a Safari driver out there. And in here it talks about you get Safari driver and okay, so this is the plugin. You install it via a browser extension. And then when you define your capabilities, you're going to say you want to use Safari. Let's try it. Open Safari. Go here. Just randomly, yeah, I don't care about Flash. Randomly download stuff on the internet is always a good plan. What version are we on? Let's try the beta. I'm looking for the Safari download. Why is that not? Oh, it's on 248. There we go. I'm going to try opening this. Okay, now I want to trust it. Cool. Oh, looks like I already had it installed. Neat. I'm going to install that. Maybe I've done some things with this before. Okay, so I've got my extension installed. I can go back and then, you know, on that page there was a Safari capabilities that I guess I closed or something. I didn't think I would. Oh boy, that's not what I was hoping for. Okay, so this is kind of, if you want Safari specific settings, you can set it through this configuration. So inside of your configurations, you would say caps.safari options, and then you would pass in your options there. But we don't want to worry about that. Let's real quick see if my test in IE Edge worked. I don't see anything. I mean, it says it ran in IE Edge. It says it passed, but it didn't actually get the test name from it. So usually this job has a ID that you can get information from, but maybe I didn't sense or set something up right. Session ID is undefined. So yeah, something went up. Something happened with trying to use Windows 10. It might be how I'm setting this browser name. Maybe if I just do browser, And then I'll just get rid of that just for fun. And maybe this needs to be an array. I don't know. Sometimes I just try different things. That's how I learn all this stuff. So we've got a few minutes left. Okay, so it didn't like that. So that wasn't the solution. I need browser name. Let's try this now. Why do I have two browsers? OS X Firefox. Oh, okay. So yeah, because I changed this to browser instead of browser name, it wasn't actually getting set correctly, and so it was trying to load Firefox on the test, and it was failing. So at least I've got it loading correctly, but I'm just having this timeout issue, and that's kind of just happens with including a 1 second pause in your test. That's already a little bit slow just because it has to connect to Sauce Labs and everything. So, you know, we can come in here and under our Mocha settings, we can change that timeout so it's a little bit longer. Timeout. Yeah, let's do 30 seconds. So now it's a timeout of 30 seconds instead of 10 seconds, things like that. Let's try this in Safari locally. So I'm going to go back up here to my capabilities. I'll just overwrite that. And I'm going to use capabilities pasted in the chat room because there's a couple things. I don't need desired capabilities. I don't need that one because that is inferred by this. Basically, desired capabilities and capabilities are the same thing. And so I want the browser, Safari, JavaScript enabled true, except SSL certs to true. Usually these are already there by default. But I'm going to try this, and I'm not going to use sauce. And while we're doing that, there was a question on my dashboard. It shows an icon of Linux and Firefox. So this is my latest test. These are the ones that were kind of failing. This is the one before I tried running that, or maybe it was when I was trying running it. I think it's because I didn't have it in an array. It was throwing issues. So by adding the array back in my capability setting, so putting those brackets back in, WebdriverIO was a lot happier. So anyway, this test failed because it timed out. This is another feature of the Sauce service, is that it will mark a test as failed. At least I'm pretty sure this is a feature, because I've done with BrowserStack before, it would mark it as passed no matter what, even if your test failed or not. But you had to do some custom stuff to hit the Sauce Labs API or the BrowserStack API and say, no, this test actually failed. So I think this is what the Sauce service does, is it marks it as failed if it actually failed. Because according to Sauce Labs and Selenium, like, it did all the things you asked it to do. It just didn't do them correctly, or it didn't do them to WebdriverIO. It didn't do them in quick enough time. Okay, so I wanted to test in Safari. Let's close out Safari, and it looks like it didn't connect. Failed to connect to Safari driver. Looks like I'm having some issues there. So maybe that's just... No, pop Safari up. Okay, so it's at least popping Safari up. There's just something else going on. Maybe I need a newer version of Safari driver. Let me see. So in here, I'm running 253. So it doesn't look like there's a Safari for 253 yet. Because yeah, it didn't say in the, it's compatible. No. So it says starting with that. So let's see, what's the latest? Not in there. This is such a fun way of searching. I might need to use 248 to run this. That's what it looks like, is that I need to be on Selenium server 248. But the other thing I want to try, I'll kill that out and come back here, is let's try this with Sauce Labs. Oops, so that's fine. I killed the wrong process. Nope. Use Sauce. Okay, so I'm gonna try testing Safari on Sauce Labs and see if it works. I don't know what Sauce Labs officially supports. Oh, look, yeah, that looks like, oh, but it's on testing on Windows? That's interesting, because they dropped support for Windows a long time ago, if I remember. But yeah, I mean, it is Safari on Windows. If I want to change that, I can come into my configuration file and set my platform to be OS X. I think I can just do Mac. What do you mean? That's weird. Could not connect to Selenium server. Let's see what happened. So open up Safari. That's weird. Platform configuration. So let's try it in here. I want a PC. No, I want a Mac. I want El Capitan. And I want Safari 9. Don't care about that. Wipe all that out. And this will be the last thing I do, because I'm running out of time. Y'all have been great in the comments, by the way. Thank you so much for tagging along and asking and helping out. It's really cool. Lots of fun. I really like doing this stuff. There we go. Safari 9. Let's see if it actually passes. So it's running. And it went to the API docs, so that's a good sign, and it passed. So yeah, if you don't want to struggle with getting a specific version of Selenium standalone installed, or specifically getting Safari set up with the right add-on, plugin, whatever. So to install Selenium standalone, the Node.js Selenium standalone, you're going to have to run a custom install. So in here, you can actually say what install version you want to use. So here, you would say, I want to install version 2.48 in order for it to be compatible with your Safari version. So that's what you would do if you wanted to run it locally, if you really wanted to, is start through there. So you'd install it and then run it, and it should work. But if all else fails, this is why I really like using a cloud service, is that they've done all the work to get this going. And then if it doesn't work and you're paying for your account and everything, they're happy to help you out. You just hit up support, and they'll be there to jump in. Oh, okay, so I'm just rewatching this. That's all I'm doing. So that is it. Thanks everybody for joining, and I'll be back next week with more WebdriverIO stuff. If you've got suggestions for topics, I'm happy to take them. Maybe I'll jump through browser stack next week. Maybe I don't know, jump through something. But that's the basics of connecting through your to a third-party cloud Selenium service in the cloud thing. Pretty easy nowadays. You just get those environmental variables set up. I think that's the hardest thing, is just if you're trying to tell somebody how to get that all set up and they're not really familiar with the command line, they've got to kind of understand what environmental variables are. And then especially if you're using a CI/CD build system, you've got to get that loaded in as well and encrypted. And make sure you encrypt that key, because you don't want other people to use your Selenium test service or whatever. You just don't want that information getting out. So anyway, thanks. And yeah, reach out to me on Gitter on the chat channel if you want to. And I'm going to do a quick plug, because why not, for my WebdriverIO course. I can't even get the plug right. See, I'm so nervous about it. I'm so nervous about all this marketing stuff. Hey, look, it's me. Basically, I've got a course on this, and inside there, I will do hooking into Selenium Cloud, which is basically going to cover a lot of the stuff that we just went over in a less terrible way. Also have a few free lessons out there just on YouTube, a couple just on getting started, and then one on the debug command. I'm working on the pause command right now. I've got the audio recorded. I just need to get the video done. So that's all out there. So that's learn.webdriver.io. So thanks, y'all. Have a good one.